Hey y'all, it's Andrea with the cutest little thing. Thanks so much for hopping on to watch today's video. If you love thrift flips, home decor, upcycling, DIYs, and all of the things, then you are at the right place. If this is your first time visiting my channel, I hope you like what you see, and if you do, please hit that subscribe button where you don't miss any future videos. And if you've hung out with me before, welcome back. I'm glad that you're here today and excited to share with you today's videos, so let's go ahead and get started. Hey y'all, for our projects for today, we're going to be using Sweet Pickins Milk Paint in the color Just Peachy. I'm very excited for you to see each one. For our first project, I have these little fall rolling pin sitters I grabbed from the Dollar Tree. As you saw, I used my heat tool to heat up that hot glue to remove that bow, and then I used my sandpaper to scuff off the rest of that hot glue. Here I am going in with my Sweet Pickins Milk Paint. If you have never used milk paint before, it comes in a powdered form, and you mix equal parts of powder and water. And I just keep a little tablespoon measure in my craft room, and you only want to mix up how much you are going to be using at a time on your project. First, I wanted to paint over that orange and that wording with some white paint, just so I wouldn't have to use so much of the milk paint. And I used Fusion in the color Parchment to do that step. I let that dry, and I only did one coat of the Fusion paint. After that dried, I went in with my milk paint. And you just want to coat your milk paint, and you apply a coat, and then you want to apply heat with your heat tool or your blow dryer, and you layer up your paint until you get the look you are trying to achieve. So you want to apply a layer, then dry it with your heat tool, apply another layer, dry with your heat tool, and repeat until you get the look you are going for. After the last coat of paint has dried, I'm going in with DIYs Big Top to seal in these rolling pins. I coat them and let that dry, and we are going in with these cute little transfers I got off of Amazon, and I will include those in the description below. Take your little transfer tool and rub back and forth until your entire transfer adheres to your piece. Now I'm going in and sealing that transfer as well as that milk paint, because milk paint does not have a built-in sealer. You want to be sure you seal your paint after it's dry. And I sealed those with the Sweet Pickins beeswax in the color white. And I just continued to cut and apply those transfers how I wanted them on those little rolling pins. And look how cute those turned out. I love those transfers. I think they are so pretty. I thought these little rolling pins could use a bow, so I am using the crisscross messy bow method here. I had some different strips of burlap and some lace. I just cut those to fit and crisscrossed them over one another and tied it all together with jute string. Just tighten the back and double knot that to be sure it doesn't go anywhere. I also took some of this dried baby's breath I get off of Amazon as well. And I wanted to pinch off a little piece of that to apply with this bow somewhere. I was trying to place how I wanted that. I ended up putting it there in the front with some raffia and a little key. Added some hot glue on the back of that bow and stuck it right on that little knob on the side of the rolling pin. And I did the same thing for the second rolling pin, just crisscrossed all of those different types of ribbons, tied it together with jute string. And I did the same thing with the baby's breath. I just hot glued it right there in the front and kind of crisscrossed those stems over one another and applied that little piece of raffia That's the little piece of raffia that I took off of the rolling pins in the beginning of the project. So I just applied that right back on my bow, so I still ended up using that piece that I took off. And this time I decided to tie the jute string around the little holder instead of hot gluing. And look how cute. For our second project, I have this little stainless gravy boat with the little tray that came along with it. I thrifted it at my local Goodwill for a few dollars. I'm going in with that same Sweet Pickins Milk Paint in the color Just Peachy. Now with this, I wanted to add some of the extra bond to my paint. I knew that this was such a slick, shiny surface that I would get a lot of chipping and probably a little too much chipping. And so I added that right into my paint mixture, and you want to stir that up really well. And after you mix up your milk paint, you want to let it sit for just a few minutes to thicken a little bit. You want the consistency of a melted milkshake with your paint. Just going in with that first coat of paint, getting full coverage here. I think I ended up doing 3 coats on this gravy boat, and I coated it all over. Now that that paint is good and dry, I'm going in with DIY's Big Top to seal in that milk paint. And I want to go ahead and seal it with the milk paint, excuse me, with the Big Top versus waxes, because I do want to apply some transfers onto this piece, and you cannot apply those transfers after you apply wax. So this DIY Big Top is the perfect solution. You just want to apply a good coat of that. Let that dry completely. Now we're ready to apply our transfers. These beautiful transfers came from the new IOD release from 2024, from this year. And I laid that piece of transfer over that gravy boat, and I just sort of placed it and cut it to the size that I needed it for my piece. And you just peel that clear film away from that backing piece. Lay that transfer down. You want to make sure it's where you want it, because once it makes contact, it already starts adhering to your piece. So you don't want to tear it or mess it up that way. Just take that transfer tool and rub back and forth while you slowly pull up on that clear film. Work slow and steady until you get the complete transfer to adhere to your piece. And if you pull up and there's still a little piece of transfer still stuck on there, just simply lay it back down, rub a little more, and pull it up again. And it'll usually come off that second time. And being this was a curved surface, I just started at one end and worked my way all the way to the other end until I got it on there. And look how cute that is. I wanted to do the same thing to the little tray that comes with it. Again, I just sized and cut my transfer pieces and pieced them together on this tray the way that I wanted. And I cut and sized them to help them from cracking and tearing over all of these curves and creases. It's just such an uneven surface. I was just trying to be super careful piecing that transfer together. But it ended up turning out really well. I was just giving you a close-up how I was lining that little flower petal up to piece the rest of that transfer together there. You want to hold it really tight with one hand while you go back and forth with your transfer tool in the other hand. And just sort of rub it to be sure it's completely down on your piece. I love the colors of that transfer with the color of our paint. Now I'm just going to embellish this with a little mini grapevine wreath, some cute little flowers I picked up at Walmart, and some more of that dried baby's breath. I just love that baby's breath I get off of Amazon. I had these cute little wooden spools. I think they came from Amazon as well, and if not, they came from Temu probably. I also had some eucalyptus greenery. I cut and placed it in there as well. And I had a lot of little pieces of greenery that were just left over from different projects. I wanted to use these pieces, so I bundled them all up together. And then I took a piece of jute string and just wrapped the ends all together and hot glued it to hold it. And look how cute that is, and that just kept from wasting all those little pieces of greenery. I found another little stray piece. I put a little dab of hot glue and stuck it right in the bundle as well. And I laid that greenery bundle right in the tray with my gravy boat. And y'all, I love how this piece turned out. I was inspired by Emily with Emily's Upcycled Home. We were on a live together and she used a peachy coral color and did a gravy boat, and I loved it. On to our next project. I just simply have this simple block of wood. I've already painted it with the Just Peachy color. Now I'm going in. This is the new IOD stamp from this year, the new one from 2024. And I'm going in with my ink here and just inking up that stamp. I fell in love with this birdie stamp in that new release. You want to carefully place your stamp down after you have it good and inked up, holding it very carefully and pressing down, and then lift up quickly so you don't smudge your ink. And I like to give my ink a good dry to be sure it doesn't smear on me. I'm going to go ahead and seal this in with Big Top. I want to seal in that paint because I am going to go in with a couple of pieces of that IOD transfer in this as well. Again, this is from the new IOD release. I had some wording there I wanted up in that right-hand corner. And then I took a piece of the little apple blossom that comes in there. I was kind of placing it, trying to decide where I wanted to put it. And I decided to cut it and separate it and piece part of it at the bottom, almost like these birdies were in the tree between branches. So I wanted a little piece of it under the birds. And then I took the other little piece and I decided for it to be above the birds. I was a little unsure at first how I wanted to do it. I was going to kind of overlap and layer the transfers. And then I thought that above would look really pretty. I decided to go in with Dixie Belle's Best Dang Wax in the color brown. I wanted to age it up just a bit. So I brushed on that brown wax all over the front and the sides of my block of wood. This was just a block of wood from my scrap wood pile. And there you go. I love how this turned out. So simple. Next up, we have a basket. This is a wall hanging basket, and as you see, it was a Christmas basket. We are going to upcycle this piece using the Sweet Pickins Milk Paint in the color Just Peachy. Again, we're going to mix that paint equal parts powder to water. Let it sit a few minutes to thicken, and we're ready to go in with our first coat. I love using milk paint to paint baskets. It is the perfect consistency to paint in all those grooves and creases and cracks. I'm giving that first coat a good dry with my heat tool, and I just continue layering up that paint until I get the look that I'm going for. I did take some white paint and I painted over the part that had the Christmas image on there. I painted that because I didn't want any wording to come through or that image to come through. This is a piece of muslin cloth I'm cutting to fit over that little square piece. I'm taking that birdie stamp from that IOD stamp book. You can tell I fell in love with this birdie stamp. Ink that up really well. You want to be sure you get ink all over it. And I'm going to simply stamp that piece of muslin cloth. You want to press a little harder than you normally would on a smooth surface when you stamp cloth. You want to press down a little bit harder than you would normally. And I like to go ahead and clean my stamps up right after I use them. It's just a good habit. Now I'm going to hot glue that piece of cloth right onto the front of my basket. I do the top first where I can be sure I get it lined up and it's good and straight. And then I go ahead and glue down the sides and the bottom. Press down on that glue. And how cute. It's as simple as that, you guys. And I'm sorry for the weird angle here. I was zoomed in or something happened with my camera here. But I'm just feeling the basket. I had some scrap fabric that I stuck in the bottom just to kind of feel it. I cut a piece of floral foam to go in there. And these are some pretty flowers I got from Walmart. I love that color and it matches the basket really well. And then these grass pieces I got from Amazon, and I'm just cutting those florals and greeneries and sticking them right into that foam. And I'm getting it arranged. I didn't want it really full. I just wanted a little bit of color with a little bit of greenery. Just kind of a simple look for this basket. And that was that, you guys. I love how this one came out. And I did end up adding some Spanish moss on top of the floral foam. You'll see it right here in a second. There you see it poking up on the top. Now, you may have seen me with this project. I did a live, and I did one of these on the live. It was a 2-piece set. I went ahead and painted that with the Just Peachy and the Sweet Pickins Milk Paint. After that was good and dry, I went in and sealed it with DIYS Big Top. I wanted to use Big Top because, again, we are going in with some transfers. That same IOD new release from this year. I wanted to use these beautiful flowers on this piece. So I just cut them and placed them how I wanted on this hanger. So I kind of catty-cornered that one so it would lay how I wanted it. Just getting that applied with that transfer tool that comes with the packet. Slowly pulling up on that clear film. I thought the flowers in this one match that paint perfectly. I think it goes so well together. I was so excited to use these two for this project. I wanted my wording to go at the bottom of my picture, so I went ahead and cut that away and placed it down at the bottom and got that applied first before I decided how I wanted to do that other flower. The transfers adhere so much better if you seal your piece first. And now here I am going in with this other flower. I kind of overlapped it with the first flower we put on. I like doing that sometimes with transfers. It sort of gives it a 3D effect. And I love how that came out. It gives it more of a realistic look, in my opinion. Now we're going in with Dixie Belle's Best Stain Wax in the white. I wanted this paint to have sort of a white hue. And the white wax is beautiful over this Just Peachy color. I went all around the sides, pretty heavy, and then I went over the front as well. And I go in all directions when I apply my wax. And now I want to layer up and go in with the Dixie Belle's brown wax. I love layering these two waxes together. I think it gives a beautiful look. And the same thing, I go around those edges really well. And I especially want that dark wax just to grab in those creases. And then I lightly go over the front. And it's good to apply the white wax first before the brown wax because it will help that brown wax spread a little better. And then if you get it too dark, it's easier to lighten up. And that was our other piece created from the live. And now I'm all finished with projects, so I like to take that jar that I mix my paint up in, and I'll have a little leftover paint usually, and I will use that paint to paint the outside of my jar. I'm giving it a good dry, and you want to layer that up just the same like you would any other piece. Paint, heat until you get the look that you're going for. I decided to embellish this jar, and first I want to go in with, of course, that same birdie stamp. So I'm inking up that stamp once again. If you get ink anywhere else on your stamp that it shouldn't be, you just want to wipe that off before you stamp it down on your piece so you don't have any smudges and marks that aren't supposed to be there. And very carefully, you want to press the middle of that stamp down first and then go down on your edges. Lift it up quickly. Now I'm filling that jar with a little bit of scrap fabric I had, sticking those same pretty flowers in there. I thought it was super cute. I did decide to add a little piece of lace around the rim of that jar. So I put a little dab of hot glue in the back and ran that piece of lace all the way around. Now, while I was doing this, little did I know that ink was not dry, that I just stamped. I don't know what I was thinking. I was putting my hands all in it and smearing my birdie. But I did go back and fix that. And you will see there, I just added the muslin cloth stamped that cloth instead and hot glued it on my jar. And guys, we are at the end of today's video. Here are all the finished pieces that we did together today. Our rolling pins, our Dollar Tree makeover, our Christmas basket makeover. I love the addition of the moss in that basket with those florals and greenery. Our scrap wood makeover. I just love how that turned out. It is the cutest little shelf sitter. Just a simple piece of wood that most would throw away. And our plaques, we created one on the live. If you join me over on Facebook for that, I appreciate it very much. And then the other one I did off camera with you guys here on YouTube. And I love how both of those turned out. And then of course our gravy boat and tray. I just absolutely love how that turned out. I love it so much. And our jar back there with our cloth and stamp and those florals. Let me know your favorite project from today. Let me know what you think of this color, this Just Peachy color. I love it. I think it's so beautiful. And I thank you so much for watching today and hanging out with me. I hope you all have a great day, and I will see you on our next video. Bye for now. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, don't forget to hit that bell where you don't miss any future videos. Also, don't forget to follow me over on Facebook and TikTok. Have a blessed day. Goodbye, friends.